All right, everyone, welcome back to episode 3 of the Z-Watch Show here. Today, we got it's a pretty good show today. It's not too bad. We got some preseason news, some week 1 news, kind of see how the landscape kind of played out. I know preseason doesn't really matter that much, but we were able to see some, of the players that were talked about beforehand. We also got my college football playoff kind of future picks that I have for the upcoming season, whether that's over or above win totals, stuff like that. And then we also I broke down the ACC, which I believe to be the weakest conference, and kind of predicted their record that's going to be this year. So yeah, we got a great show for you guys, and hope you guys enjoy.
It's time for the Z-Watch Show. It's the Z-Watch Show. It's the Z-Watch Show. Man, this guy knows ball. He knows everything. It's time for the Z-Watch Show.
All right, to start the show now, we got some of the preseason news. Like we said, we saw the first week of NFL preseason where every team was playing. And I guess the storyline that everyone was sort of talking about was obviously going to be the Shedeur Sanders situations. A lot of talking heads on ESPN and whatnot were saying that Shedeur Sanders was just left out there to dry, which was one of the stupidest takes of all time, just because Dylan Gabriel, I'm pretty positive, was hurt, as well as Kenny Pickett, and then obviously Joe Flacco is, of ancient descent. So he was born in like 1970s, damn near 80s, whatever. But yeah, I thought Shedeur Sanders, I'm happy for the kid. He lived up to the hype he brought upon himself. He played really good. I know he didn't go against the ones, but I was only able to watch a little bit of the game because I was out to dinner with my family because I just got back home for a golf outing. Lucky me. But yeah, no, Shedeur Sanders does look like he could be an NFL quarterback. I don't think it's going to be tough. I'm a big Joe Flacco guy. I love the cannon on him, so it's going to be tough for me to root for him to play this year. I always I scroll on Twitter, and you see like that. I forgot the guy's name, but he does like the Browns quarterback stats of each practice, which is kind of funny. But if you're going off those stats in particular, Dylan Gabriel has been looking pretty good. Again, I know I kind of went over the Browns quarterback situation in a previous episode, but I don't think Kenny Pickett is going to play this year. He's a good backup quarterback. It kind of sucks. He's kind of just thrown out to dead on the Browns. Because if Joe Flacco doesn't perform well in the first, 6-ish weeks, there's really no point for the Browns to turn to Kenny Pickett. You'd either want to play Dylan Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders just because they're rookies and have more upsides for the future of your team. There's really no purpose for you to play Kenny Pickett, to be honest. So if I was the Browns personally, I'd try to trade Kenny Pickett for just a draft pick or something like that. I know there are teams that need backup quarterbacks. But yeah, Shedeur Sanders did great. I was happy for the kid. I know a lot of people hate on him, even though a lot of the hate he brings onto himself. But no, I'm happy for him. He was cocky, but he backed it up. And that's what you can ask for. I'm assuming he's going to play more in the preseason. So hopefully that wasn't a fluke, and he can just continue to kind of be his, great self that he is. What else do we have? A little bit of Tanner McKee. Pretty good. I think he deserves to be an NFL starting quarterback. I don't see a reason why, if he was to be traded to the Colts right now, he would not be the starting quarterback there. I mean, speaking of the Colts, AR-15, I believe it was the Eagles-Colts game. Yeah, AR-15, I don't know. The highest level I played quarterback at was high school. And just knowing what I saw as a quarterback in terms of the defensive line. Now, granted, I was looking more at the line instead of downfield most of the time because I played small-level high school football, and I just like to scramble and run around people and just drew people for fun. That was kind of my style of play. It wasn't a downfield passer at all. I had one read, and if that one read wasn't there, I'm off of it, and I'm just looking at the line looking for a hole to run around, scramble, maybe make a desperate throw or something. I wouldn't get out there on the football field. But like I said, I don't understand why he played well. He played well in one game last year too, as well. I believe it was against the Dallas Cowboys. He threw for like 2 tuds, no interceptions, like 200-something yards in a regular season game. And he's balling. He was absolutely balling. And I know, unless Jalen Hurts wishes possible, because Jalen Hurts, although he's a tough guy, does run around and take some hits, I see why the Eagles should keep him, but Tanner McKee could definitely be a starting quarterback. If Jalen Hurts was injured for I don't know, like 4 or 5 games this year, or however much he gets injured for, as long as it's not out for the season. I don't think they're going to win a Super Bowl, Tanner, but they can definitely win some games and maintain, because the Eagles are obviously, although coming from a Super Bowl hangover, which is a thing, are still going to be a very good team. And if Jalen Hurts got injured, I don't think any Eagles fans are going to be, they shouldn't go crazy or anything. They should be all right. And what else I have in here? I didn't really watch that much preseason just because I don't care that much about preseason football. It doesn't really matter in the long run. These are just kind of, what I'm excited for. And I'm excited also the way Bryce Young ended the season last year. As a shorter guy, not a midget, don't worry. I'm excited. I'm low-key rooting for the Panthers. That entire division, I know the Bucs are probably minus odds to win the NFC South this year. But my God, I'm rooting hard for the Panthers. They're going to be much better than last year. Bryce Young hit his stride in the last 2-3 weeks of the season. And he was balling too. I think he went like 6 for 7 or something like that in the preseason on one drive that he had. He's ready to go. I think the Panthers, I'm not going to get outlandish here. But the Panthers are sneaky. They're one of those teams where it's like a bet for them to make the playoffs is like a 7 or 6 seed isn't that outlandish, because it's not going to be minus. It's not going to be good odds. And it's one of those dark horse teams where if Bryce Young plays good and the team around him play pretty decent. I mean, the Saints are probably not going to be good. The Falcons, again, are also one of my out of the NFC, I think my 2 dark horse teams are the Falcons and the Panthers, which kind of goes against what I'm saying against the Panthers, but one of those 2 teams is going to make the playoffs. I think 2 teams out of the NFC South will make the playoffs this year. Again, those are my 2 dark horse teams, but if Bryce Young plays as good as he did the last couple games of the season, as well as that first drive in the preseason, which again doesn't mean jack shit, they're going to be very good. They're going to be very, very good. And then obviously, I grew up near Chicago area, so I hear a lot about Justin Fields, and obviously part of my take, my favorite podcast. So we hear a lot about Justin Fields. Also, just even the guy I'm going to talk about after this from Ohio State, I hated his guts, even though when Justin Fields was there, we got blown out basically every time we played him. I don't remember a close game when Justin Fields was the quarterback there. Again, that was kind of the dark ages of Michigan. It was kind of sucks. But he led a good first drive. If the Jets' defense is as good as it was last year, they're going to win some games. Again, I don't think the Jets are going to make the playoffs. I'm rooting for the guy. The Bears semi did him dirty, semi not. I mean, you kind of had to draft Caleb Williams and move on from Justin Fields. Justin Fields is a good quarterback. It's that Justin Fields experience. He's going to be inconsistent. He's going to break out to some long runs. He's going to win you some football games. And the Jets are probably going to finish 6-11 or 7-10. Again, they're not going to make the playoffs. But if their defense ends up being a top 3 defense in the NFL, Justin Fields is a very good quarterback for that style of football that the Jets want to play. Run the ball and play good defense. And if they're, like I said, if the Jets end up as a top 3 defense and their defense is suffocating, if they're the number 1 defense in the NFL, the Jets will make the playoffs. Just on the way the style of Justin Fields and how good their running backs are. I mean, they're not going to turn the ball over. But, yeah, I was happy for him. And then on the other side, as a diehard Michigan fan, I was able to see one of my favorite players in college football, but I had to hate him just because he played for those fucking Buckeyes, was Travion Henderson. First NFL touch, taking it back, I think it was 100 yards. Kick return, I could not be happier for him. He's going to be very good on the Pats. Very, 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 very good. That's really all the notes I have about him. But yeah, I was happy. I didn't really get to see Quinton Junkins do anything, but also I still think of him as an Ole Miss guy. He just kind of joined Ohio State. He didn't really do anything crazy for Ohio State. I mean, Henderson, that screen pass against Texas was just, I ripped my heart out. I ripped my hating heart out. My hating heart, it hurt. It hurt. Other NFL news, I guess last one that was kind of all over my social media page was just Cam Little's 70-yard field goal in the preseason. That should count. I get it's preseason. I get why it doesn't count, but that has to be the longest field goal ever recorded in an NFL type game. Ever. I mean, if it broke a regular season record, I doubt. I remember Sebastian Janikowski years ago would go out for like 70-plus yard field goals, and I was like, holy fuck. But no, that's impressive for Cam Little. Again, I'm not a kicker. I don't know much about kicking, but shout out to him. Shout out to him. And then one last thing, I forgot to mention in the intro that I had on my preseason news notes that I have. Look at these notes. You want to talk about quality notes? That's how much you guys mean to me. You know, still no subscribers, so I can't spend that much time on these notes. Maybe once I get 5 subscribers, maybe this note page of just preseason news might go to the end of the page. But as of right now, I just wrote down basically names. That's it. That's all I did. I was going to talk about Travion Henderson, but I had zero information about him. But I do want to talk about a little bit about the UFC just because, again, I want to start posting. Once I get 5 subscribers, I think I'm going to start posting every Tuesday and Thursday and maybe Sunday morning. I'll release something because I want to get into like the betting side. I'm going to have a whole sheet. I'm going to do clips on TikTok of, ZWAT's bets. ZWAT's bets for the weekend. I'm only going to be able to bet $1 because as my financial situation, I just got out of debt. Debt-free right here. ZWAT is debt-free. Thank you very much. Working to get another job right now. What can I say? But the UFC fights this weekend, I am very excited. Like I said, posting Tuesday, Thursday, and possibly Sunday morning most of the time just to kind of, especially on big college football days, just kind of review the games as long as I'm not working Saturday. And then give a little of that would be when I do my NFL bets too. So people would have to, when they're waking up in the morning, maybe watch a little bit of the ZWAT show. The ZWAT show on Sunday, I would just break it up into NFL bets and college football kind of recap. But I am also a semi-UFC fan. I'm a casual. I'm not a diehard fan. So I just said, Dricus du Plessis? I don't know. I think I could be wrong, but he hasn't lost in a damn while. DDP. Khamzat is the favorite. He's minus 260, which is absolutely. I understand he's like the up and coming guy, and he's a fucking freak of nature. I mean, he beat Robert Whittaker last. Again, I don't see why DDP isn't higher up. I'm about to check his thing. I think he's won his last 5 fights. He TKOs the fuck out of people. 9-1 TKOs. He hasn't lost a fight in obviously forever. He's defended his title 3 times. He's won the title against Sean Strickland, beat him again, and then beat Izzy in a submission. He hasn't lost since he hasn't lost since 2018. So 7 years ago, guy hasn't lost a fight, and you're gonna tell me he's not gonna beat Khamzat? I'm saying, but what is it? Plus 210 odds. DDP is gonna win the fight. DDP is gonna win the fight. I think those are great odds if you're a Khamzat hater. Personally, which I am, and I'm picking DDP to win. Maybe just because he was on PMT. That might be a reason. I hope he wins. But yeah, that's about it for the preseason news or whatever. Now we're going to go on to my second page, which is just slightly longer. You guys are welcome. Shout out me for those hard work. You should see, and after I do my college football future picks, I did my ACC. Look at this breakdown. I don't want to spoil anything. 1 page, front side and back side of all the teams. Now, I did them last night. I did not much research just due to the fact I have not watched college football or NFL football in so long. It's been about 3 years since I have actually been able to sit down just because I did play football in college for a bit. After our games were over, all I wanted to do was drink and besides the time I had a girlfriend, talk to girls and hang out with the boys. That's all I wanted to do. I didn't have time to watch, an Iowa versus Illinois game 11 a.m. All right, I was getting taped up. I was reading books or stuff like that. Like, come on now. And then Sunday I worked because unlike some people, I had to work on Sundays to pay the bills. to pay the bills. That's why I'm college-free debt. Shout out Domino's Pizza. Shout out the Big Dom. All right, so my college football future picks. Let me get up to the schedule here. But anyways, so what I have here is I have 4 picks of over win totals. Okay, and then I have a little bit, like I want to talk about week 1 a little bit. I think I'm going to save that for an episode closer to, obviously, before week 1. But I looked up, I use DraftKings, by the way. Shout out DraftKings. If you guys want to sponsor me, feel free. So my first 4 kind of win totals that I love. I love these win totals for you guys, and you guys should bet these. The first one is Texas over 9.5 wins, minus 180. They're ranked number 1 right now, and on DraftKings, it's 9.5 wins. I don't remember the last time a number 1 ranked team in the preseason ended up having less than 10 wins. I don't remember. Again, I did minimal research, but Texas over 9.5 at minus 180. It is minus 180, so it's not like anything shocking to say this, but that seems like free money to me. Again, their hardest game is gonna be against, I guess, Ohio State or Georgia. Again, they're going to beat Ohio State. I'm telling you guys this right now. That's why I want to talk about week 1. I have Texas money line. I will be putting an alarming amount on Texas money line. $5 probably. And depending on if I get this job, when I'm moving, if I get that job, I'm betting more. Someone just screeched out right in front of me. Right in front of my studio. Have some fucking respect, buddy. But yeah, no, Texas money line. They're going to be Ohio State. I'm looking at this schedule. Then they got 3 games where they might as well fucking send out me and my boys out there. They're playing San Jose State, UTEP, Sam Houston. I'm sorry. Texas is going to start 4-0. And then a game against Florida. I don't know if Florida has anyone tough at the beginning of their season, but that game's going to be overhyped. Oh my God, is this Florida's year? Oh my God, Florida. I mean, I've heard this ever since Tim Tebow's era in Florida. All right, Florida is always one of the most overrated football teams every single year. Again, I'm just going off straight vibes. They're going to beat Florida. They're going to beat Oklahoma. They're going to beat Kentucky. They're going to beat Mississippi State. They're going to kill Mississippi State. They're going to beat Vandy. I think Vandy's going to be actually pretty good this year. Their quarterback talks a lot of shit. I forgot his full name, but I like him. I'll do my SEC little bit preview. I'm going to try to make it a little bit better than the ACC one, but I know I have 2 weeks, and these first couple episodes are just kind of learning how to talk in front of a camera as well as this. There's a chance Texas goes undefeated. Again, Georgia's going to be good. They're not going to be the great Georgia team. So their 3 hardest games, if you were just to look at like ranking right now, which rankings don't mean shit, is Ohio State, Florida, and Georgia. They're winning 2 of the 3 of those games. Even if they win 1 out of 3, which is not gonna happen, they're gonna get over 9.5 wins. I know why it's at minus 180, which is for like I don't know the odds for over 10.5, but that's not crazy to me. That's not crazy to me at all. So Texas over 9.5 wins at minus 180. That's a lock. If you want to win a couple bucks, I'd put, I don't know, $20 to win, whatever it is. So I think that's free money. That's just me personally, as long as Arch is healthy. If Arch is hurt, then don't come at me, please. Please don't come at me. The next one I have is so the rest of these are going to be out of the Big Ten, because I kind of know more about the Big Ten than I do any other conference, even though I don't know that much about the Big Ten right now, because like I said, I haven't watched football in years. But Penn State over 10.5 wins at plus 115. This is a risk. This is a huge, huge risk, but I love Penn State this year. I'm this close to saying Penn State's going to win it all this year, to making that bet Penn State wins it all. I'm just scared. I'm scared because although they made the Final Four last year, that Penn State team should have beat Notre Dame. I still think they were a better team than Notre Dame. Drew Aller just missed some. I just thought he just missed some throws that if he just hit them, they win the game. I know you could say that about damn near every game, but as a guy who is as highly touted as him, he needs... Those are the type of throws that are going to win Penn State a national championship. They need him to play well. He's going to do a lot better. Basically, everyone's back. They got the two best, like the 1-2 punch in college football, at least in the Big Ten. Their schedule, it's just going to come down to Oregon and Ohio State. Those are the two toughest games. Indiana's ranked right now. By the time they play Indiana, Indiana won't be ranked. Third hardest game is going to be against, I guess, Iowa. But Penn State's not losing that. This is Penn State's year. They're not losing to Iowa or Nebraska. This isn't one of those Penn State years where they lose a stupid game like that. That's not happening. That is not happening. And they're beating either Oregon or Ohio State. They just got to win one out of their two, and that bet's going to hit. If they lose, if they go into Ohio State with one loss, that's desperation time. Because the way the Big Ten's looking, at least in my little preview, the way the Big Ten's looking, no one's playing each other. Like, there's not one team that plays all the big boys. There's just not. So 10-2 is a little risky for Penn State to try to have a case to make the playoffs. I still think they will. But if they got to beat Oregon or Ohio State. But yeah, Penn State over 10.5 at plus 115. I think that's going to hit as well. I don't see why it would not. Now, the other one, again, as a former South Dakota State University fan, due to my boy being on the team, one of my good friends, great guy. I'm not going to name his name just because this is a Z-Watch show, and I don't, no free shout-outs here. No free shout-outs on the Z-Watch show. But anyways, I love Iowa this year. I think the game that kind of sets the tone with Iowa is just that Iowa State game. That's going to set the tone for their entire season. I feel like that game always sets the tone for both of those two teams. Whoever wins that game normally ends up having a good year. Whoever loses that game normally ends up having like a mediocre to good year. But that game's going to set the entire tone on this bet. Iowa over 7.5 wins at plus 135. So you're getting great odds with this. And the only game you have to sweat, the only game you got to hold your nut, you got to nut up or shut up if you take this bet, is that Iowa State-Iowa game. If they end up winning that game, they're going to start the season 4-0. They're going to play an Indiana team that's not as good as last year. They're going to play a down Wisconsin team who's going to be all right, but they're not going to be like those elite Wisconsin teams with Russell Wilson, Monte Ball, those type of guys. Melvin Gordon, shout out to 262. Then they got Penn State and Oregon still, and USC and Nebraska. I think they're going to lose. They're going to lose 4 games. They might lose 3. I think they're going to go 8-4. I really think they're going to go 8-4. They're going to lose to Penn State. They're going to lose to Oregon. Then you might be sweating that last game against Nebraska because they could definitely lose against USC. I mean, I think they might go. Yeah, they might. Yeah, it's a home game against Penn State. They might show up against Penn State undefeated. That's definitely a possibility. I know you can't say that about every team, but I'm so down on Indiana this year, and I just think this quarterback's a winner. I trust him. Again, maybe that's just simply because I am an SDSU fan. I sometimes say NDSU. Fuck the Bison, man. Fuck the Bison. Even though I'm high on Trey Lance this year. All right, my big other one that's the over is, of course, I'm going to be riding or dying with this one just due to the fact that's my team. Those are my boys out there. Bryce Underwood, that's my boy. That's my boy. I got to get more knowledge on my team. It's been a while. Last year, I didn't pay that much attention to them because I knew we were ass last year. We had a D3 offense. We had a JUCO offense, actually. Our D3 offense is probably better than what Michigan had. It was, again, I love those boys, but the offense we just couldn't pass the ball. We have a good defense. But those 4 years, 2021, 2022, 2023 were 3 of the greatest years of my life. Football life, I guess I should say. Last year, we just beat Ohio State and Alabama, so the season was a success, and Sharon Moore, I don't think any Michigan fan was calling for his head last year. It was his first year after everything that happened, all the fake cheating scandal stuff, which is absolute bullshit. But yeah, but this one is going to be at minus 160, so again, great. This bet should win. Again, minus 160, which is better than the Texas bet at minus 180. But Michigan over 8.5 wins. Again, they don't have it. Michigan doesn't have a tough schedule at all. They have 2 ranked games against Ohio State and Oklahoma. And Oklahoma's, again, John Mateer. I don't think Mateer is going to be suspended for any games, just because that would be extremely stupid and that would cause an absolute outrage in the college football community, as well as Oklahoma would just go berserk. But yeah, they got to lose 4 games. That's not happening. They're going to be much better this year. We own Ohio State, so you can bank on us beating Ohio State. So basically, the second game against Oklahoma, I guess if you make this bet with me, you're going to have to be a little bit nervous just for the sheer fact that Oklahoma isn't going to be a walk in the park. Like I know in years past, Michigan hasn't played. Actually, we've always had not a difficult, but a decent non-conference schedule. I know like in 2021, 2022, those years, we were playing not good teams. I think we played Washington in 2021, I want to say, when they just weren't that good. Like that was kind of the did they have Jake Browning? I don't think so. That might have been years ago. That might be too early or too late for Jake Browning. But yeah, we're going to beat Oklahoma. Then I guess the 4 toughest games we have, like the 4 ways we can lose: Oklahoma, Ohio State, Nebraska, USC. So, I mean, the rest of the teams, I guess, if you want to throw in Wisconsin, we have Washington, Michigan State, Purdue, Northwestern, Maryland. Those are all, you got to win those games. You just got to win those games. We're winning 3 out of those 4 games. Or we're winning at least 2 out of the 4 games. 9-3 is the worst Michigan's going to play this year. That's a Z-Watt guarantee right here as a diehard Michigan fan. We're going to be back on college football landscape. That is all we're asking from Sharon Moore this year. We don't expect a national championship. We don't. We just expect to be in the running for the playoffs. And if we beat Ohio State again, that's all we're going to care about. If we beat Ohio State this year is a success. Even if we do end up going, like Bo Schembechler said and the old Ohio State coach Woody said, if we go 1-11 but beat Ohio State, the season is a success. But in terms of my bets being over, because I'm a betting guy, I'm your betting guy, to all my 0 subscribers out there, 9 wins. 9 wins. We can easily do that. We can easily go 9-3 for you guys. All right, I have 2 more bets from you guys. These are the ACC Conference Champs, which is kind of what I'm going to get into. It's Clemson, ACC Champ. They're going to win the championship game at plus 105. I think that is, unless something tragic happens, that's a lock. Clemson's, I think that's free money as well, too. Again, after this, I have one more thing I was going to say, but yeah, Clemson's going to win the ACC at plus 105. That's just, if you want to double your money, instead of going to play roulette or blackjack later tonight, maybe just bet on that and just be patient. This is an investment. So how much money you have in your account, if you want to bet $100, you're basically going to end up with a little over $200. That pick is an investment. That is not a bet. That is, knock on wood, a lock. And then the last bet I have, which is, I wouldn't advise this one, but as a Big Ten guy, I'm going to ride with this one. It's at plus 170. I have over 3.5 teams to make the college football playoffs out of the Big Ten. I think Penn State, Ohio State, you can throw in Oregon, Michigan. I think, Illinois has a chance this year. I know people are sneaking Iowa into there, which isn't going to happen, but I think 4 teams for sure are going to sneak in. Again, I would like to say Oregon, Ohio State, Penn State, and Michigan. Those are kind of the 4 teams I hope get in. But obviously it depends on the rest of the ACC teams, which in my prediction, that bet is going to be good, as well as the Big 12. The SEC isn't going to be getting, 6-7 teams in. The Big 10 will only get 3. That's just not how that's going to work. The committee would do that because they want to suck off the SEC, but yeah, that's essentially it. Oh, and a future bet that I really love, because I'm so high on Penn State this year, and I don't think the odds are going to be this good when they end up playing each other, is Saturday, November 1st, Penn State plus 4 versus Ohio State. I might take that bet right now, too. That gives me 4 points. I don't think. Actually, I'm not going to quit the show, but I don't know. I'll jump in a lake somewhere. Wherever I'm living, I'll jump in a lake. If that spread, Penn State versus Ohio State, if Ohio State is favored more by 4 points, I don't think it's going to happen. So Penn State +4, Saturday, November 1st. Take it now. Take it now. Because those are the best. If you're high on Penn State this year, take that bet. Because you're not going to get better odds than that. Or a better spread, I should say. Not odds. I should have wrote down the odds. But if it's spread, I'm assuming it's close to, -110 around there. So Penn State +4. Take it now. If you want to be safe, do plus 3.5 actually. No, take the +4. Take the +4. All right. Final segment of the show. Actually, after this too, I will be doing a segment. It's called Hot Takes with Z-Watt. I forgot to mention that in the intro as well. Every single episode, I'm gonna have a different segment, and the segment, or I'm gonna try to come up with different segments. And this segment that I want to start is I just give a random hot take every single year, which I will explain every single video, which I will explain. I think in the hot take video, I recorded it a couple days ago in my car because I was sitting in traffic and I was a little irate, to say the least. All right, now for the ACC win total breakdown. Now I should probably pull up the ACC win totals for the year so I can go to bet the over or the under on all these teams, because again, there's going to be one that is shocking to you, although they're going to be overhyped just because, I don't want to spoil it. I don't want to spoil it for you guys. I cannot spoil it, because I know you guys are all excited to see this. Essentially, this is when I wish I had a co-host to talk a little bit about it. We're just going to go to ESPN. We're not going to do betting wise. We're going to go projections. Where's average wins? So there's the 2025 projections. I got this off ESPN, projected wins. So that's what I'm going to assume DraftKings has it betting over. Sorry, lack of research. Maybe if I had 5 subscribers. Once I get five subscribers, I'm asking for 5 people who listen to the Z-Watch show. Maybe listen to this on the radio when you're in your car. Just, I don't know. Hopefully, I'm going to try to become a little more entertaining. All right, I'm going to try my best. But anyways, the ACC, I want to say it's the weakest conference, although Big 12 ain't that far behind, but I think the ACC is just strictly going to be the weakest conference. It is for football. It's one of the best in basketball, even though the SEC was dominant last year for basketball. But it's a basketball conference, which is upsetting because the ACC does have some good schools. I've heard, never visited one, but I've heard they had some good schools. All right, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start at the bottom. So the way I did this, essentially, was I did kind of the worst teams from last year, from record-wise, and went up. Besides North Carolina, I had a little bit up because I got carried away with North Carolina because I'm so excited to talk about Bill Belichick and Jordan. But anyways, let me pull up Florida State. So Florida State last year did not have a good season. I think, if I'm not mistaken, Florida State was terrible. Florida State finished the worst team as the ACC. I don't think that's going to happen this year. They got Boston College quarterback. I believe his name's Castellanos, who's a scrambler. Good guy. I don't think Florida State is going to be back into, those glory days when they went undefeated and got fucking robbed because the SEC wanted to suck off Alabama so much, which in my opinion was fucking pathetic. As a Michigan fan, I'm sorry to bring you guys back here, but we got ripped off there. I mean, Alabama, probably a better team, sure. But if you're a Florida State fan, or you were especially a Florida State player and you go undefeated, that had to be one of the biggest robberies in that fucking 4-team system playoffs. Easily. Although you can definitely argue they were better. That's just talk about getting ripped off. But yeah, Florida State went 2-10 last year. They won 1-7 in conference play. They just hit the dud. That program was like, fuck. But they're going to get back on their feet. Florida State is a traditionally good good program. They're going to win. I believe they're going to go 7-5. Again, they got a quarterback, which is kind of what they needed, although their average win total for Florida State is going to be 6.8. So I believe that's going to be the over. 7.7-5 is going to be Florida State's record. They got 4 very tough teams. They got 4 very tough games they got to play. See, this is why you motherfuckers who watch this show need to put in more effort so I can get paid to actually do this for a living. But they got 4 tough games. They got Clemson, Alabama, Miami, which I'm a little down on compared to most people, and Florida. Those are 4 games which they're, in my opinion, going to lose. But the rest of the schedule is just not that difficult. But they got 4 tough games, so I'm higher on Florida State this year. They're only going to go 7-5. They're going to be back, but they're not going to be back, if that makes sense. And then we go on to the second worst team, Stanford. Stanford at 2-10. That's what I got them at. They're the worst team in the ACC. Again, I'm sorry, Andrew Luck. You're going to be a great GM for them, but there's not much you can turn around in 1 year. They're just not going to be much better. Again, it's tough to see, but they're not going to be good. Now we got Wake Forest here next. They got a first-year head coach, so they won 4-8 last season, 2-6. Obviously, with the first-year head coach, you're going to have your ups and downs. It's not even worth it for me to go back and forth on this computer because Wake Forest is so bad that every other team, the higher-up teams, when I look at their schedule, I just automatically said they were going to beat Wake Forest. So I gave kind of a generous look on Wake Forest. I gave them a 4-8 record, even though their average win total is 5.2. So I guess I was actually kind of a dick to Wake Forest, according to ESPN. So, but yeah, Wake Forest is going to finish 4-8. I'm sorry about it. And then Cal as well too. Cal lost everyone on the offensive end, even though you can make the argument. Although I don't think I watched a single Cal game. I looked up who was on the previous roster. They lost everyone on the offensive side. But then you can make a cake that they were just ass last year on offense too. I mean, I don't even know how they went 2-6 in conference play, but they ended up making a bowl game because I see they went 6-7. Whatever the odds Cal to make a bowl game is, bet the under, because that is not going to happen. Cal according as a 5.9 average win in the 2025 projection. So I was kind of a dick to I see 2 more teams actually, because most of the projections were about 5 to 6. So yeah, kind of a dick to Cal, but yeah, they're going to be ass again. They're going to be 3-9. That's the ZWAT prediction. All right, Virginia this year. I think Virginia is going to improve from last year. They did go 5-7 last year. The only reason I think Virginia is going to be any better, let me take a drink, guys. See, this is when a co-host would be nice right now. Hold on. That's my protein shake, too. I don't know if you guys can tell. I've been working out a little lately. Thank you, guys. Or girls. I don't discriminate on this podcast or on this show. It's a show, not a podcast. Fuck. So, Virginia, it's going to be a very easy schedule, I believe. Once I looked at it, they have 0 top 25 opponents at all. I think I said the hardest game is against North Carolina. Again, I'm super high in North Carolina, like I'll mention later on in this show. But I'm not that high. Yeah, they have 0. They're going to go 8-4. They're going to make a bowl game. They're not going to make what are the New Year's 6 bowl games? They're going to be, it's just lack of easy schedule. Their average win is 5. What the fuck? No. Virginia, that's true. If their win total is 4.5 or 5, bet the over. Their schedule's easy. They got to win. 8-4 might be seeming a little generous now. I also did this research late at night. But Virginia, 8-4. I'm going to stick with my guts, too. Again, next team is going to be NC State. NC State, people are higher up on them this year. I think they're going to start 3-0. They got an easy non-conference schedule, and then they're just going to go 7-5. They're going to basically be exactly how they were last year, essentially, maybe a little better. They made a bowl game last year. They're going to make a bowl game again. They're going to make a bowl game. They're going to play, I don't know, they're going to play some team out of the They might play MAC team. They might play freaking Western Michigan. All right, that's just Western Michigan versus NC State. Those teams never play each other. They're gonna play one of the first games on like December 18th. That's just how it's gonna go. But yeah, they're gonna go 7-5. They're gonna get off to a red hot start. They're still not gonna be ranked at 3-0, but NC State 7-5. Again, a lot of these records, these teams won't be as good as what their record says, just due to the fact the ACC again is gonna be down like it has been in the past. And then last year as well too, they got Pitt. Pitt last year went 6-7, but 7-6. Pitt last year went 7-6. Now that record's a little misleading from Pitt due to the fact they started 7-0 last year and then ended the season 0-6. So some might say that Pitt was a little fluky, and I think they're gonna, in terms of record-wise, they're gonna come back down to where Pitt football is. And they're going to finish the season 4-8 too as well. Again, if I look at ESPN, if I look at Pittsburgh, their average win is 6.1. So if it is 6 on DraftKings or whatever betting app you use, hammer the under. I think they're just giving them that 6 wins. ESPN is just out of how weak the ACC is, and as well as out of respect to how well they started last year. But yeah. Now, the next team is Virginia Tech, whose expected wins are 6.6. Now, I looked at their schedule last year. They won 6-7. Again, a lot of these teams went like the 6. Like, they barely made bowl games last year. Like, barely. And it was just due to the fact, like, these records I'm saying 4-8 could definitely be 6-6 or 5-7 or 7-5. Just due how mediocre that large chunk of teams are in the ACC. So, one of the two of these teams are gonna break out into 6-6. So whatever. In my opinion, Virginia Tech, their first 2 games, they're gonna start 0-2. In my opinion, they got South Carolina and Vandy. Like I said, I'm a little higher on Vandy this year than I've ever bet in my life. Watching football, I mean, who watches football and says Vandy? They were a baseball school. That's all I knew Vandy for, and that they were the fucking the bum, the ass. They were the ass of the SEC. But so, yeah, Virginia Tech 4-8. Again, if it said 6 on there, bet down. For Pitt and Virginia, bet down. For Boston College, they did lose their quarterback from last year. Like I said, Florida State got him in Castellanos, which I'm assuming he got a shit ton of money because it's just a better football program. But there's not much improvement from Boston College from this year to last year from what I saw. They finished 7-6 last year. 4-4 in conference play. They're going to do the same exact thing. I'm not high on Boston College, but I could see a 6-6 record for them being right there. I don't think 7-5, 5-7, 6-6. That's Boston College for you. Again, yeah, their average win rate is 5.2. I would expect them to go 6-6, at least above average. It's still Boston College. I've always liked watching Boston College growing up. I respect them. Now, Georgia Tech's, everyone is somehow extremely high on this year. Don't ask me, well, I actually know why. Georgia Tech's going to be pretty good. I don't think they are going to be, people are like dark horse to make playoffs. That is just not going to happen. I'm sorry. Georgia Tech has to play Clemson and Georgia. I don't know about you guys, but that is not a recipe to make the college football playoffs, especially if your best win then would be against fucking maybe Colorado. We're looking at this, Boston College. I had Georgia Tech as 8-4. I honestly might switch that to 9-3. Now re-looking at their schedule and talking about this, the rest of the Ace, they don't have to play SMU. They don't have to play Miami. They have to play the bottom teams, essentially. Syracuse is going to be down this year, which I'll mention later. Duke, I think they're going to lose to Duke. Honestly, I have Georgia Tech written down here at 8-4. I might switch that to 9-3. And I want to look what ESPN says for Georgia Tech. They have them at 6.6. So, yeah, Georgia Tech, again, people are high on this year. 8-4 is a solid record. If it's 6.5 over-under, or, yeah, if you can get it at 6.5 over-under, like 7 or up, bet that. Even if it's a 7.5, depending on the odds you get, I would not deteriorate anyone from going over 7.5 for Georgia Tech. 8-4 is the record I wrote down. 8.5 records I'm talking about. Another dark horse-ish each that people are talking about out of the ACC, just because they've been like right there in the conversation as the best team from the ACC, even though everyone knows they're not, because every time they have to play a big game, they just lose, is Louisville. Their average win total for the 2025 ESPN simulation is 8.3. I have them at 8-4 as well, too. People, dark horse to the playoffs? No. Good season? Again, yes. Louisville's a very good program. The best years they've ever had was just when Lamar Jackson was insane, and they could have beat Clemson, but that one guy didn't go for the first down and ran out of bounds, which I still, maybe in his head he thought he got it, which I'll never understand that to this day. But yeah, no, they got a decently tough schedule. In terms of the ACC, they got a tough schedule. They got to play the three best teams, SMU, Miami, and Clemson. So, yeah, as much as they're going to have a good season as 8-4, they're not going to get over that hump this year, and they probably won't for years to come. Now, for the next team I wrote down, which did not have that good of a season last year, I believe they did make a bowl game. Wow, they did make a bowl game. That's right. They won 6-7, 3-5 in the ACC, which is ass cheeks. Is North Carolina. And basically, I'm just excited, like I've said before earlier in this show. Big fan of part of my take. Jordan drama better be at full tilt. This drama, this storyline is my favorite storyline in college football. Just because no matter if they're good or bad, it's all going to be centered around Bill Belichick and Jordan. But I'm a believer. I'm a believer in Bill. All right, I'm a believer in the Bill of Rights. I'm a true bred American. In North Carolina, to me, is going to upgrade from 6-7 to 10-2. They're my long shot. North Carolina is my long shot to make the playoffs. I don't know the odds. I really don't. I truly do not. ESPN has North Carolina's wins at 6.6. So I'm guessing the odds aren't that good. Take the over. No one knows that much about North Carolina. I'm pretty positive. Yeah, Max Johnson is back. I liked Max Johnson before he got hurt. He's going to be pretty good. They're going to be pretty good. Bill's going to have him ready. They're going to beat TCU. They're going to go into that Clemson game 4-0. They got UCF, TCU. Those are two, people know the names of those teams. They're going to beat them. They're going to come in. It's at home, too. Clemson's going to have to come to North Carolina. Raleigh, North Carolina. That place is going to be buzzing. They're going to lose. But they're going to get right back on track with California, Virginia, Syracuse, Stanford, Duke, and North Carolina. I have them at 10-2 just because they're going to lose one of the other games. North Carolina, dark horse team, whatever it is, hammer the over and win totals. Take from Z-Watt. He knows ball. Bill Belichick back on top. Now for their counterpart, the Dookie Blue Devils, who finished the year 9-4. I don't think they're going to have that much of an upgrade of a season. I know the Blue Devils probably have some hopes, which is odd, some hopes of making the playoffs. I mean, I don't see why they wouldn't. They got two tough games against Illinois and Clemson. And then in terms of why I picked them at 8-4, like I said, I'm high on North Carolina. So I think they're going to lose against North Carolina. That's 3 losses. And then I think between, between Georgia Tech, maybe NC State, 9-3 actually is not out of the question for Duke, but 8-4 is just me being safe. I think they're gonna drop a game. They're gonna drop a game to Virginia, North Carolina, maybe Syracuse. They're gonna drop one of those games where it's just an ACC game at 2:30 and they just don't show up to play essentially, and they go 8-4. That's kind of my prediction on Duke. What's their win total? 6.8. Yeah, no. So I'm actually being very generous toward Duke according to the ESPN average win total based on their statistics. So good on me. Good on me here. Now it's time for Syracuse. Syracuse, again, call me crazy. Actually, it's probably not true. I was a Will Howard fan, and then he went to Ohio State like a fucking pussy, so I always said Kyle McCord was better, and I rooted for Kyle McCord. Man, that man slung the ball. He slung the ball well. last year for Syracuse. I remember their fans just basically praying. They had a chance to make the college football playoffs last year. They weren't that far off. They went 10-3. They lost 3 games in the conference. They won 10-3. And I was happy for Kyle McCord. They had a really good season outside of the norm for Syracuse. They're going to come back down to earth. Again, right now, if it was just preseason rankings, they got to play 5 AP top 25 teams. They don't have Kyle McCord. They're going to come back down. I have them at 6-6 this year. So I think ESPN probably, I would assume, has them down that low as well. Yeah, they have them at 4.8. I would not mess with Syracuse this year. If you're planning on betting on Syracuse, stay away in terms of win total, because they're going to lose the first game. They got to play Tennessee. They got to play Clemson. They got to play SMU. They got to play Miami. They got to play Notre Dame. They got to play North Carolina. Georgia Tech ain't going to be a fluke this year. Yeah. I wrote them at 6-6 just because I gave them the respect of maybe how good they did last year. Maybe they got some like cool transfers or stuff like that. That's why I gave them the 6-6, but 5-7 season just, yeah. They're gonna come back down to Syracuse football earth. All right, now for the third team that I have. So we got 3 teams left, and these are the only 3 teams besides my dark horse. So 3 legitimate teams that everyone is sort of talking about in terms of who has a chance to win the ACC, who has a chance to make the playoffs. And kind of like how I mentioned at the beginning of this show, is I think Clemson is just going to dominate the ACC. Again, I have Miami. These next 2 teams, Miami and SMU, could go 10-2 and sneak into the playoffs. I've been debating it back and forth, but I'm going to stand on business and just say 9-3. I don't know why, but especially Miami, the Catholic versus convict game, I'm not that high on Notre Dame either this year, but I still think Notre Dame's going to beat Miami. I know Carson Beck. I'm just not a big Carson Beck fan. I'm really not. I think they lose to them. I think they lose to Florida. And I don't know. The only reason I'm stuttering right now is because I think I want to switch SMU to 10-2, and I think SMU is just going to sneak in. I think whoever wins that SMU-Miami game goes 10-2. Or if Miami's anything like the years past, if they win that game, they're going to lose a game against Syracuse or NC State or some fluky game the last 4 games, because that's just the Miami way in recent memory. So I'm going to stand on business with Miami and say 9-3. Again, I'm not high on Carson Beck. I think they lose week 1 against Notre Dame. I think they lose against Florida. Again, Florida I think is overhyped, like always, but they're going to beat Miami. I think Miami's more overhyped. What are they ranked 10 right now? That's a little bit too high for me. And then I would not. Obviously, these are predictions for the seasons, and what do I know? This is just a Z-Watch show. I know I'm the number 1 sports betting guy in the world, but 9-3 for Miami is good for me. I know, average wins 9.2. I like it too. ESPN, now moving on to SMU, ESPN, pretty positive I saw that at 8.4. Now, I didn't do much research on SMU. Clearly, if you've listened to this whole thing already, even though I'm going to have to split this into clips and make TikTok clips because everyone has a short attention span nowadays. 8.4 for SMU. If I did my research correctly, I had them. They were like returning everyone. That was like, I read a headline. Returning a lot, including their quarterback, Kevin Jennings, who obviously played decent last year. They got put to rest by Penn State last year. But like I said, Penn State had just as much chance to win it all as any other team last year. So their win against SMU, was it a knock on SMU? It was more of a potential of what Penn State could actually do. But in terms of SMU's schedule, I believe the reason I did them at 9-3 was because I thought they could lose against Baylor. I don't know how good TCU this year is, but those are still 2 Big 12 teams that aren't going to be, still Big 12. I don't think I think Baylor is going to be better than TCU. I've done no research on the Big 12. Don't take that for word, but I definitely think they could end up going 3-1 in their first 4 games, and then they still have to play Clemson, and then they do have Miami. I still think I'm personally going to stay away from SMU. If their line is at 8, I'm going to just 8 total wins or even 8.5. If it's 8.5, I might take SMU because I think 9-3 is definitely not ridiculous at all. I mean, other than that, like I said, Syracuse is going to be down. Stanford sucks. Wake Forest sucks. Boston College, Louisville, sure, might beat them late in the season. That would be Louisville's kind of, if they are the dark horse team that people are talking about, that would be Louisville's like, hey, we deserve to be in. We're not going to get in, but we deserve it, and finish like 14 or 15 in the final college football playoff rankings. But yeah, 9-3, 10-2. If it's anything 8.5 or lower, I'd take SMU too for the win total. I have to check that, but yeah. I only think one ACC team is going to make the playoffs, and that's this last team. I'm going to talk about Clemson. Clemson, they have a tough-ish schedule. Like, in terms of the rest of the ACC, besides Syracuse, who just is simply playing the best ACC teams, Clemson has a tougher schedule compared to everyone else. I even think, because I'm just looking at ESPN, I think, strength of schedule, Syracuse has a higher strength of schedule. Yeah, just like I said, I did my research. Z-Watch Show, I know what the fuck I'm talking about. Relax, people. They're going to be good. They're going to be good. I have Clemson at 11-1, and then I put no matter what. And that no matter what was if they beat LSU or lose to LSU. If they beat LSU, they're going to run the table. I mean, if they lose to LSU, they're going to run the table. If they beat LSU, they're going to lose a cheap game. Just being cocky, Clemson, they're going to go 11-1. I don't know who they're going to lose to. I don't know. What was my win? What's their win projection? Probably 10 on the dot, I would assume. Yeah, 10 on the, wow. If you want to talk about greatness, that's me. 10 on the dot. I wonder what the DraftKings total. I'm going to check that because 11-1 is still risky with Clemson's schedule. They got to play LSU. They got to play SMU, who's going to be, like I said, I think SMU is going to be Miami. So this, as long as SMU doesn't suck as much as they say they're going to suck, then Miami could be. But anyways, SMU, Louisville ain't going to be a walk in the park. Again, I'll be very high in North Carolina. I think those teams are going to meet undefeated against North Carolina. And that's like, Clemson's going to win that game. North Carolina, they're just not ready for that moment yet, to be honest. But, yeah. Yeah, no, Clemson's going to win it all. I'm going to look up quickly. Stay with me here, guys. Or ladies. Stay with me here. Clemson DraftKings win total. Let's see. What do they have them at? College football betting lines. Okay. Alright, is it going to make me log in? It's going to make me log in. Don't make me log in. Don't you dare make me log in. Load for me. Oh my god. Control F. Clemson. Load. This is what happens when I have all these tabs open. Oh my god. Clemson is over 9.5. It's at -200. But we're going to... -200 kind of sucks as odds. They're going to win over 9.5 games though. So again, that's kind of just free money. But yeah, no, Cade Klubnik is going to be the man this year. Like I said, him and Drew Aller are my two favorite in terms of returning quarterbacks. I'm discounting Arch out of this conversation, by the way. Those are my two. I know, Nussmeier from LSU too. Everyone's high on him. It's LSU. He's going to be good. But the two quarterbacks I like, Cade Klubnik and Drew Aller, just because I don't think they're two of the best. Just like their stories, like the adversity both of those guys face. The odds, honestly, bold prediction here. Z-Watts, bold prediction for great odds that you can throw $5-10 on and not worry about losing it. But if it hits, you're going to be rich. That would be Clemson versus Penn State in the national championship game. Mark it down right now. That's not crazy at all to me. That is not crazy at all to me. And I think those two teams, the way just the storylines of their quarterbacks over the last couple years, how they just keep failing, but they're just this close to breaking through. I think that bet is a good bet too. What the odds, again, don't throw that much money on it. Throw like $5-10 where you're like, if I lose it, whatever. But if you win, you win, a couple hundred and go out for a great night. Have yourself a night. But anyways, yeah, no, Clemson's going to go 11-1. They're going to be the ACC champs. Like I said before, ACC champs, they're going to win the championship game for the ACC at +105. That's free money. That's an investment. That is not a gamble. Yep, that is all for this day's show, for episode 3 of the Z-Watch show. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode because I don't have an outro at all, and I just recorded this at all. I believe this is about an hour. So yeah, this is gonna be my outro before the outro, because next we have my hot take, and I hope you guys enjoyed this part of the episode, and I hope you guys enjoy my hot take. Have a good one. All right, so like I said, I'm going to start a news segment where I kind of do my hot take of the day, whether that's sports, my life, anything. I got a lot of things I want to get off my chest that maybe some people agree with, some people don't. And right now, as you can see, I'm not filming in my usual studio. I am currently in my car, stuck in traffic. And this is the worst. This is the worst. I'm a little hungover, and I still have well over 2 hours left in my drive. We're moving maybe we're going so fucking slow. Like a turtle can probably get to my destination sooner than I'm about to, and it's pissing me off. I'm hungry. I have no food. I have this much water left, and there's not an exit for the next probably like 15 miles. So I guess my hot take of the day, which I know is kind of cruel, and I never wish any harm on any human being, but I looked up why we were in traffic, and it said a crash. So my hot take is that if you're going to make me and probably thousands of other people who are in front of me or behind me sit in traffic for an extra hour, I think that car crash needs to be catastrophic. And honestly, if it was a little like fender bender, I think those people who were in the fender bender deserve jail time. I think not executed, but they should have jail time for fucking up people's time, because this is the actual worst. This is the worst. But yeah, I want to see cars flipped over. Obviously, I hope everyone's okay. Obviously, I don't want anyone to get hurt. I'm a lovely guy. I love everyone. But I want to see like cars cut in half, fucking on these whatever poles you want to call them. I want to see a car like stuck in between like a couple trees, like branches, like you see in the movie. That's my hot take, though, because sitting in traffic right now, this is actually the worst. I need to pee. I need to shit. I just want to lay down and eat some food and watch preseason football. That's it. That's all I want to do. But yeah, this is my first ever segment of my hot take. So my hot take is, if you're ever stuck in traffic, then everyone who's stuck in traffic should see what actually happened. I want to see pictures of it. And if it's not worth it, like life-threatening, or it wasn't a cool crash, the people who got in a crash should get jail time. Just maybe like 2 days of jail time. That's my hot take. Obviously, again, I want to make sure everyone's okay. I wish no ill will on anyone. But I want to see some damage done to something to make me justify sitting in here following this guy, this freaking Ford, I don't even know, maybe it's a Ford F-150, I don't know, I'm not a car guy, but yeah, that's my first ever segment of my hot take, and this is it, and now, yeah, that's it for this segment.